Check out our new sponsors, The Games Cube. It's a great family-run local game store boasting Australia's biggest selection of MTG singles. Use the coupon code The Eternal Gathering to get 5% off store-wide. Check their site out in the link below.
G'day everyone, welcome to the Eternal Gathering. The Gathering here with another podcast, and we're doing Kaldheim. We're going to go through Kaldheim has been fully spoiled, and we're going to talk about what's been spoiled, what the set's all about, what cards seem good, what cards seem not so good, and hopefully you guys enjoy the set review. So we'll start off with the first set of gods that we've got here, the mythic gods, and I've got some tabs open here because we're going to look at both sides. So first off is Halvar, god of battle, 2 and 2 white, 4/4 legendary creature god. This is the first time the gods actually don't have some type of ability to keep them alive, like indestructibility, which most other gods have, or if you think about the ones in the War of Spark, they go back to the top of the library, third from the top, or they ones from out of session, when they go to graveyard, they get shuffled, or not shuffled, put back on top of your library. So yeah, very interesting that they haven't gone that route, but it makes sense in terms of the lore. So the gods here are a bit different. They can't stay alive forever, they do die. And they each got, what's it called, another side. So these are the MDFCs. And with the first god, the white god, it has the ability to wear creatures you control that are enchanted or equipped have double strike. So this obviously you need to be running in a deck that has equipment or enchantments to get that ability and get, I guess, the full value of this god. And then at the beginning of each combat, you may attach a target aura or equipment attached to a creature you control to target creature you control. Another thing that, again, you need to have auras and equipments, and you already need to have something equipped on another creature to be able to use that ability. So very poor card, not deck. Card unless your deck actually is running those things. The flip side, Sword of the Realms, is 1 and a white for a legendary artifact. Equipment, equipped creature gets +2/+0 and has vigilance. And whenever a equipped creature dies, you return it to its owner's hand, and the equip cost is 1 and a white. Interesting equipment. Having your creature to return to you when it dies is very interesting kind of effect, and we'll see a couple of those in the other cards that we do talk about today. But again, it's not the strongest kind of artifact equipment that I've seen, but the low cost, it is 2 to plan and 2 to equip, so it is quite low cost in terms of getting out there and equipping. So it does have that going for it, but I believe it's probably one of the weaker gods in the set. We'll go to our next god. It's the blue god, Elrond, god of Cosmos, 3 and 2 blue for a 1/1 god. It gets +1/+1 for each card in your hand though, and also each foretold card you own in exile. So foretold is one of the new mechanics, and we'll get to it when we see a foretold card. At the beginning of your end step, choose a card type, then reveal the top 2 cards of your library, put all cards of the chosen type into your hand, and the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. So if you're looking for lands, say lands. If you're looking for artifacts, creatures, instants, sorceries, whatever you're looking for, if you got those 2 cards or any of those cards in the top 2, then you'll get them to your hand. So really, really cool effect here. High casted, 5 mana, but you know what? It can be quite a powerful effect, or that card advantage, and also he gets the +1/+1 for each card in your hand plus foretold cards that you own in exile. So it could be a 2/2, a 3/3, a 4/4, a 5/5, a 6/6, 7/7. It can be quite a strong threat if you have enough cards in your hand in exile. On the flip side, it has a bird, a 1 and a blue for a 2/3 flying, so quite well casted kind of creature there, a 2 and 3 for a 1 and a blue. And then whenever it deals combat damage to a player, you return this creature back to its owner's hand and scry 2. So it is a bit slow to attack and deal damage, but don't forget, if you return it to your hand, you're able to play the other side. So you're able to play Elrond, god of the Cosmos, So you then also scry too, so you get to see what's up in your library, see a little bit of value there, and also it'll help out with Auron's second ability if you're able to play Auron that turn, and the next turn you know what your next 2 cards are, so you can name the one that is going to be next, and you know at least you're getting 1 card in your hand. I think this card might see a little bit of a fringe play in Standard. I don't see it seeing much play anywhere else. Even if you're looking at Commander, still not a very strong Commander per se, but definitely something you could see some fringe play in kind of control decks in Standard. Now we got our Black God, which actually is Tybalt, spoiler alert. So Valkyrie, God of Lies, 1 and a black for 2/1, legendary creature god. When it enters the battlefield, each opponent reveals their hand, and for each opponent, exile the creature card they have revealed this way until Valkyrie leaves the battlefield. So you get to look at each opponent's hand. So in a 1v1, it's just your opponent, but in multiplayer, that's interesting. You get to take away possibly 3 cards away from people in the game, and having this be your commander is a possibility as well. And then you get the X, choose a creature card, exile with Valkyrie with commander cost X, and then it becomes a copy of that card. So it becomes a copy of whatever card that you exiled as a creature, obviously. It gets the abilities of that creature, it becomes power and toughness of that creature, everything about that. And you get to do that once, and then it becomes that creature, and it stays that creature. The other side, if you want to play the Planeswalker Tybalt, 5 black and red, very, very high cast there, 7 mana. But let's see what it does. It's 5 loyalty. At this battlefield, you get an emblem straight away that you may play cards exile with Tybalt, Cosmic Imposter, and may spend mana as well as any color mana, to cast those spells. +2, exile top card of each player's library. Again, 2 play again, that's 2 cards. 4 play again, that's 4 cards. -3, exile target artifact creature. That's a good ability because then you can play the exile card that you get away. Don't forget this is the emblem. You're keeping this emblem, so even if Tybalt dies, you're still able to cast those cards. -8, exile all cards from all graveyards and then add 3 red. There you're giving some extra mana to play some stuff, and don't forget your mana can be any color, and you also exile all cards from all graveyards. Your graveyard, your opponent's graveyard in a 2-player game, and in a 4-player game you're getting much more. So very, very big value you can get from Tybalt. Definitely a lot of value. Problem is 7 mana. So in a game of Commander, I guess it's interesting. You can have Valkyrie, God of Lies in the beginning, and then in the later game bring out Tybalt. But I'm thinking this more in terms of possibly 1v1 kind of scenario. A lot of people have been talking about Cascade and how Cascade works with this. If you haven't heard, Cascade allows you to play a card with mana cost less than its spell. So for example, if you play a spell that's 4 mana with Cascade, you can play little top card of your library until you reveal a card that's 3 or less mana. That's a non-land card, and you can play that card. Valkyrie itself is 2 mana, so it will then allow itself to trigger from the Cascade, but then you can choose which side to play. And because of how MDFCs work, you can cast the Tybalt, the 7 mana, from the Cascade, which is insane value, yes. Is it enough to win you the game? Look, Tybalt by itself probably gives you enough value to go on to win the game. It doesn't actually win the game for you itself exactly, but I think it's something that's worth considering and worth thinking about. Valkyrie itself isn't too bad of a 2-drop if needed, and you're looking at probably Jund decks that are going to be doing this, so I think it's something that could be in a conversation, and a bit of playtesting will see whether or not it's actually worth the slot. Next one we got the red god, Torov, God of Fury. 2 and 2 red for 5/4 trample, and whenever a creature or planeswalker an opponent controls is dealt excess non-combat damage, Torov deals damage equal to the excess to any target other than that permanent. So for example, if this god is out and you use a lightning bolt on a 1/1, then you got 2 damage that is excess. That 2 damage can then be dealt to another creature or planeswalker, and let's say that creature planeswalker only had 1 toughness or 1 loyalty, then you got 1 more left over because you had 2, and then you can do it to another permanent. Very interesting. I don't think there's been really many cards that go into that kind of realm in terms of excess damage. I think this might be the only one actually. So that's really interesting, and it's interesting because if we haven't seen this effect before, then we don't know what its, I guess, ceiling is. So it'll be interesting to see if Torov does anything. I mean, it's also a good creature at 5/4. So let's see what we can do. I'm not sure where it can fit in current decks. It is quite high in terms of its mana for modern. Pioneer might be a home for it. Standard also, we'll see how that goes. The flip side, Torov's Hammer is 1 in red for a legendary artifact equipment. Equip creature gets 1 in red, tap to untouch the hammer to deal 3 damage to any target. Then you return the hammer to its owner's hand, so that you can play the other side again if you want to, or you can bring back the hammer down. An equipped creature gets +3/+0 as long as it's legendary. So only giving it to the ability to legendary the extra 3 attack. The equip cost is 1 in red. So again, low mana to play out, low mana to equip. But then you got to pay again to do the 3 damage. So I don't know if all that mana that you invest is going to be worth it in the long run, if that's just going to be a really slow way of trying to win. So interesting again, having that ability to deal 3 damage to any target. That's one way you can win, I guess. But otherwise, yeah, it's going to take you a long time to be able to do all those things that you want to do with it. Going to cost you 6 mana to deal 3 damage. So is that worth it in the long run? I'm not too sold on it. But the other side, I think, might have a bit of a chance in seeing some play there. And then finally, the green god, a seeker, god of the tree. 1 and 2 green for a 1/4 vigilance. Add 1 mana of any color if you tap it. And then other legendary creatures you control also have vigilance and tap, add to 1 mana of any color. On the other side, prismatic bridge, 1 of each color. It's an enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, reveal cards from top of your library until you reveal a creature or planeswalker, and then put that card onto the battlefield and the rest in the bottom of your library. This card, I think, is definitely the most commander-worthy card, because you were able to play that second side, the 5 mana. That is going to be really bonkers in commander decks if your deck is playing the strategies where you have a lot of planeswalkers, so your super friend decks, and also if you have really big creatures. So it's a very interesting enchantment, very strong enchantment in commander. The other side, not going to do too much, but you might have a few more legendary creatures here and there in commander that can help you ramp if needed. I'm not sure if you want to put this in a 99, I think this would be more your commander, so you just have the ability to get the enchantment straight away. That's what I would be more leaning towards. In terms of competitive play, again, Cascade, you can hit this off Cascade, so that could be something to look at. A 1/4 is not too bad of a blocker, and the ability of the enchantment is quite strong, quite powerful, so you're bound to hit something with it that's going to bring some value onto the board. And enchantments are difficult to get rid of, especially in game 1 when you're playing in a more competitive realm. I can definitely see possible play in modern, people trying this out. Also can see some play maybe in Standard and Pioneer if the mana bases are able to be, I guess, goes to that 5 mana. But Modern is where you probably can cheat this out much quicker, much better with the Cascade. So we'll see where that goes. So those are our 5 mythics that flip over to MDFCs. So we've got some more mythics here. So we've got your Foretell mythics. So these are sorceries and some creatures. So first one, the white one, 2 and 2 white to create a 4/4 Angel Warrior token with flying and vigilance. However, if you play this Foretelled cost, then it could create X of those tokens instead. And the Foretell is X, X, and a white. So what does Foretell do? Well, during your turn, you may pay 2 and exile this card from your hand face down, and then cast it on later turn for its Foretell cost. So you still have to cast it in its restrictions and its timing. So sorcery, speed, it will still have to be cast at, but you're going to get a lot more value. You're going to be able to, if you do pay, let's see, a 5 mana, you're going to get 2 4/4 white angels. If you're going to, pay 3 mana, you're going to get 1. So it's reducing the cost of the original spell. It's kind of like putting it in suspend almost. So it's a quite interesting effect Foretell, and the opponent won't know what card it is. So they won't exactly know what you're going to be playing with that Foretell, or what Foretell cards are able to be played. I don't think this will be seen all that much play apart from Standard. I don't even see much play in Commander. I think there's other cards that do much more than Star Him Unleashed. But we'll see what happens. But definitely could see it as a finisher in Standard decks, as control decks. Auron's Epiphany, 5 and 2 blue. You get to create 2/1/1 blue bird creature tokens with flying, then take an extra turn off this one. Then you can exile the Epiphany. So you're creating 2 1/1s, gets a bit of presence on the board if there isn't any, and then have an extra turn. Foretell is going to cost you 6, so it's going to bring it down by 1 turn quicker, so to have that extra turn. Again, I'm not sure where this is play apart from Commander. Obviously, if you're doing a take turns kind of deck, or in Standard, where this might see play, because Standard is a much slower format. But 7 mana is quite a lot. Even 6 mana can be a little bit, if you don't have anything already on the battlefield to take an extra turn to help you win the game. The 2/1/1 birds aren't going to really cut it. This one here is 6 mana for sorcery, and we'll click into it, but I'm pretty sure I know the ruling of it. So you choose a creature type and then return up to 2 creature cards of that type from your graveyard to the battlefield. But if you cast it for its Foretelled cost, then you return all creature cards of that type from your graveyard to the battlefield. So definitely a card that's going to see play in EDH, and that's about it, to be honest. It costs way too much, 7 mana or 6 mana. It's just way too high in terms of its cost to see play anywhere else. Quakebringer, 3 and 2 red for a 5/4 Giant Berserker. Your opponents can't gain life. At the beginning of your upkeep, Quakebringer deals 2 damage to each opponent, and then this ability triggers only if Quakebringer is on the battlefield, or if it's in your graveyard and you control a giant. So at the beginning of upkeep, deals damage to each opponent. It's been triggered only if Quakebringer is on the battlefield. Okay, so if it's on the battlefield, you get that. And then if it's in a graveyard, you need to control a giant for that to trigger as well. The Foretell cost is 4, so you can get down a bit quicker. Your opponents can't gain life. It's a nice little bonus there. Will this play in Standard is the question. Do giants, I guess, roam free in Standard? We'll find out. But otherwise, I don't see it seeing play in anywhere else, unfortunately. Not even really Commander. Battle Mammoth, 3 and 2 green for a 6/5 trample elephant. Whenever a opponent you control becomes a target of a spell or an ability and opponent controls, you may draw a card, and then you can full tilt up for 4. Interesting ability there. It's going to give you, I guess, the chance to be able to draw cards if any spell targets it, including your own. Doesn't have to be your opponent's. So if you're pumping up your creatures, you're going to be drawing cards. So interesting effect. Also 6/5 trample off of 4 mana. That's pretty decent stats there. I could definitely see him play in standard, and possibly it could see some play in Pioneer with those stats. Resplendent Marshal, 3 mana for a 3/3 Flying Angel Warrior. When it enters the battlefield or dies, you may exile another creature card from your graveyard, and when you do, you put a +++ counter on each creature you control other than Resplendent Marshal that share a creature type with the exile card. This is just going to cease to play in EDH. Unless standard have Angel decks, then I don't see this thing play anywhere else, apart from Commander. Orvar the All-Form. Very interesting card actually. 3/3 for Changeling. So Changeling means it's all creature types at all times. Whenever you cast an instant sorcery spell, if it targets one or more other permanents you control, create a token that's a copy of one of those permanents. And then, when a spell or ability an opponent controls causes you to discard this card, you get to create a token that's a copy of target permanent. So, the second ability is pretty good if your opponent's making discard a card and they don't have the ability to choose that, because then you can bring this in as any permanent that's on a battlefield, including your opponent's ones. The first ability, though, however, only affects permanents that you control. So whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, and if it targets one or more other permanents you control, you create a token of a copy of one of those permanents. So definitely interesting card that might see some play definitely in Commander, and I could probably see him play in Standard. So we'll see how that goes. Otherwise, I don't see him play in Modern or Pioneer, but definitely Standard and EDH. But EDH, this would be a very interesting kind of card to put in your 99 or as a Commander. Burning Rune Demon, 4 and 2 black for a 6/6 flying Demon Berserker. When it enters the battlefield, you may search library for exactly 2 cards not named Burning Rune Demon that have different names. And if you do, reveal those cards. An opponent chooses one of them, you put the chosen card into your hand, and the other into your graveyard. So you're going to find 2 of your best cards, and then one of them goes in your hand, the other in graveyard. Or you can play in a way that you get a creature and a reanimation spell, and if they give you a reanimation spell, then you get the creature back with reanimation spell. If they give you the creature, well, you got the creature. So you can play around that way. Interesting card, 6 Mundo, quite big. Might see some play definitely in Standard and EDH, but that's about it, I would say. Unless there's like a really good combo that comes out for Modern or something like that, it's 2 cards. Then you're trying to get those 2 cards and they work well with the graveyard, sure. But otherwise, yeah, I don't see it seeing play anywhere else. Ghostman Dragon, this is an interesting card. 4/4 for 5 mana, flying haste, so that's really good. Just aggressive card. And then when it attacks or becomes a target of spell ability, oh no, just a spell, sorry, you create a treasure token. So it's giving you 1 mana back each time it attacks. And then treasure you control have tap to sacrifice it to add 2 mana of any one color. So you can wrap yourself. I think this card might be the best mythic that we've seen so far in terms of where it's going to see play. I'll definitely see play in Commander because everything does, but Standard definitely see play. Pioneer, Modern could even see play. I think this card is quite strong. It's quite aggressively casted. It has the right stats for those formats. So we'll see if it makes a splash in them, but definitely I could see seeing play in Standard and wreaking a lot of havoc in Standard, and definitely could see some play in the older formats. Our first Planeswalker so far is Tivar Kell, the first new one. He's actually a elf, so it's a 2 and 2 green for 3 stun loyalty. Elves you control have tap, add a black, so you can ramp. but your elves already mostly do that anyways. +1, put a +1/+1 counter on up to one target elf, then you untap it, and it gains Death Touch turn to turn. The untap ability there is interesting, especially in like older formats like Commander and maybe Modern, where you're able to untap it and get some more value out of certain elves that might tap for a lot of mana themselves. So there's some shenanigans that might be played there, and you might see this show up in Modern elves, or definitely in Commander in elf decks. 0 to create a 1/1 green elf warrior creature token. That's really good for an elf deck if you're playing elves. The -6 is the emblem. Whenever you cast an elf spell, it gains haste until end of turn, and then you draw 2 cards. A great finisher for elves if they already have found a way to win. Definitely can finish the game. So it definitely could sneak into a modern build of elves, and definitely Commander. I'm not sure about Pioneer. Pioneer might not have the tools for an elf deck. Standard, same there. I'm not sure they have the tools for an elf deck. We go down. We've got a couple more mythics here. So Vorniclex is back. He's the only Praetor actually. So travel and haste. It has really good abilities already. 6/6. So travel haste 6/6. That in itself is amazing. And then it has the ability of, if you would put one or more counters on a permanent or player, put twice that many of each of those kinds of counters on that permanent or player instead. So kind of like doubling season basically. And if an opponent would put one or more counters on a permanent or player, they put half that many of those permanent rounded down or player rounded down. So I guess doubling season taken away, like halving everything. So it's like, alright, it doubles, not tokens, but any +1/+1s, poisons, loyalty counters, this doubles, and also it halves it for your opponents. So very strong ability there, and definitely very well rounded creature with the travel haste 6/6 for 6. Definitely see play in standard. Pioneer definitely could be another home for it. Definitely in Commander, just for its ability to double your counters and halve your opponents. So another really strong creature coming out from the Mythics. And then our last creature in the Mythics is a Eradicator Valkyrie for 2 and 2 black. 4/3, flying, lifelink, and hexproof from planeswalkers, so can't be targeted by planeswalkers. You can pay 1 and a black to sacrifice a creature, and then each opponent sacrifice a creature or planeswalker. Again, you sacrifice itself, but you want to be playing this in a token kind of build, token strategy kind of deck. It is quite, again, got some good abilities there with flying and life, like a hexproof from planeswalkers for 4/3. So definitely don't discount that. But I'm not too sure if it will see play outside of standard and maybe Commander. Now for our rares, Doomscar, it's 3 and 2 white for destroy creatures, or you can foretell it for 2 and then go for 3 mana, so you can be a 3 mana Wrath. Which the last time I had 3 mana Wrath was with the Ravnica Allegiance, I think it was, or one of the Ravnica sets, when it did 3 damage to each creature, but it destroys all creatures, so it's even better than that. So could this see play? Definitely Pioneer. I can see this seeing play. Definitely Standard seeing play. Definitely Commander seeing play. My question now is, will this see play in Modern? And my answer is no. I don't think it's going to see play in Modern. I think the Foretell is quite good to be able to do it, but you're taking whole turn 2 off to be able to foretell this card for turn 3. And if you're playing a control deck, you want to have your mana up to be able to counter stuff that your opponent's doing, because it's going to go on a control deck. You know it's going to go on a control deck. So it's definitely not going to see play in Modern, but definitely Pioneer and Standard. I think it's going to see some play there. Icebreaker Kraken, 10 and 2 blue for an 8/8. However, it costs 1 less to cast for each snow land you control. Snow is back. Snow lands. This is a snow creature, snow permanent. There's snow instants and sorcerers, which we'll get to. Enters the battlefield. Artifacts and creatures come and play. Controls. So say it again. When Icebreaker Kraken enters the battlefield, artifacts and creatures target opponent controls doesn't untap during that player's next untap step. And then you can return 3 snow lands. So to bring it back to your hand, not going to see play, unfortunately. Some of these gods are quite interesting. Raiding, God of the Worthy, Flying, Vigilance, Snowlands your opponent's control, ends the battlefield tapped, and a non-creature spells your opponent's cast with equivalent cost 4 or greater, cost 2 more to cast. Definitely could see play in Pioneer, definitely could see play in Standard. Modern, can maybe see play in Modern. Think of like Death and Taxes, possibly. If we look at the other side, it's 4 mana for a legendary artifact. The source an opponent control would deal damage to you or opponent you control, prevent 1 of that damage, and then whenever you or another opponent you control becomes target of a spell or ability an opponent controls, can that spell or ability unless its control pays 1. Against burn, this would be really good. So definitely could see some play in Modern. We'll have to wait and see. Definitely could be a sideboard option in Death and Taxes kind of builds. Cosima, God of the Voyage, 2 mana blue for 2/4. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may exile it, and it gains whenever land enters the battlefield under your control. And if Cosmina is exiled, you may put a Voyage counter on her. If you don't, return Cosmina to the battlefield with X plus plus counters on it, and draw X cards where X is the number of Voyage counters on it. So you flicker it out at the beginning of your upkeep. So you're going to keep it alive for 1 turn. Then if you're playing lands, it's getting stronger and it comes back into play and you draw those cards and get that many +1/+1 counters on it. Really interesting take. An ability. I don't think we've seen something like that before in terms of something coming into play and then getting exiled, or wanting it to get exiled anyways. The other side is a vehicle. Crew is 1 and it's 1 and a blue for 3/3, so it's pretty interesting there. Stats. And whenever a vehicle you control deals common damage to a player, that player exiles that many cards from the top of the library, and you may play lands from among those cards for as long as they remain exiled. Very interesting to have this in blue, this land kind of theme for blue. Blue-green, definitely decks that do play lands. I'll be playing this in Commander. Otherwise, I don't see this thing play anywhere really, not even Standard. Death Touch, 2 and a black for a 6/6. Wow. Death Touch. At the beginning of upkeep, exile 2 cards from your graveyard. If you can't, sacrifice this and draw a card. So you want to have stuff in your graveyard. If you do, and you play this, it's pretty good. So the other side is an artifact, and the artifact reads, at the beginning of upkeep, you mill a card, and then you can pay 2 and a black to exile a creature card from your graveyard and draw a card. Definitely could see play instead. Definitely could see play Pioneer. Modern, I don't think it'll be seen play in Modern, but definitely looking at this as one of the stronger gods from the set. Burgi, God of Storytelling. I think this is definitely a card I could see play in Modern. So 2 in a red, 3/3. Whenever you cast a spell, add 1 red. Until end of turn, you don't lose this mana as steps and phases end. And creatures you control can boast twice during each of your turns rather than once. Who cares about that second line? The first line is whenever you cast a spell, any spell, you get 1 red. Storm in Modern, definitely could see this in there. Maybe not definitely as a 4 of, but you could probably play maybe 2 and have another way of being able to storm off, because you're getting an extra 1 red mana whenever you cast a spell. I think it's definitely worth playtesting for sure. The other side, Harnfell, Horn of Bounty, 5 mana, quite high cost there. And I think it should be, because you discard a card, you exile top 2 cards of your library, you may play those cards this turn. If you think about it, if you discard a card, you exile 2 cards, if those cards that you draw more cards that you can discard, so you can kind of storm off again. So I think the 5 mana is a safety valve in terms of not letting it get down too quickly to be able to get you to storm off much easier. So if this is costed 3 mana or 2 mana, or I think 4 mana might have been maybe safe, but obviously they must have play tested hopefully with this, and 5 mana seems to be the sweet spot. But definitely interested to see it in the modern format with Storm. I don't think you'll see it play anywhere else, unfortunately. Cavalry, God of Kinship, 2 and 2 green for a 2/4 creature. So as you control 3 or more legendary creatures, including yourself, it gets +4/+2 and has vigilance. And then you can look at the top 6 cards of your library for 1 and a green and tapping it, and then reveal a legendary creature card from among them and put it into your hand. So you're looking for more legendaries. A bit slow there. I mean, if you do have the 3 legendaries out, yeah, it's 4 mana for a 6/6. But if you don't, it's not really doing much for you. The other side is an artifact, 1 and a green. As a ring arc press, as battlefield, you choose a creature type, and then you can add 1 green and spend mana only to cast a creature spell, or a creature spell, sorry, of the chosen type, or a legendary creature spell. A bit of ramp, not much I think happening for me. A couple more gods here. So we've got another black god, Menace, 3 and 2 black, 4/5. Whenever an opponent sacrifices a non-token permanent or discards a permanent card, you may put that card from your graveyard onto battlefield under control. So whenever an opponent sacrifices or discards a card, you get that card back, as long as it was a permanent. The other side is another artifact. It's 4 mana to tap, and tap player loses 3 life unless they sacrifice a non-land permanent or discard a card. And if you have Togrid out while you have Togrid's Lantern out, that's a pretty cool kind of combo there already. And then you can pay 3 in a black to untap the Lantern. Definitely high cost there, 5 mana will stop it from seeing play anywhere. Jaune, God of Winter, 2 and a green for 3/3. Whenever it attacks, untap each snow permanent you control. So the ability to untap your lands comes to my mind there. So if you're playing, obviously, I think from now on you're just playing snow lands in all your decks, right? Because there's no drawback, right? Unless you're playing someone that's playing this Raidane, God of the Worthy, there is no drawback in playing Snowlands. So the ability to untap all your lands when it attacks, who cares if it dies? If you get to play this, the next turn you get double your mana for that one turn. That might be enough just to win you the game. Then it has the artifact on the other side to be able to play target snow permanent card from your graveyard this turn. If you do, it's the battlefield tapped. You know what? If he dies and you have more copies, of him, great. You can play him again. This other side can get other snow permanents. I'm not sure what other snow permanents you want to get, apart from Jaune himself. But if you, get another Jaune from your library into your hand, you're just going to play Jaune again. Could definitely see some play in standard. I'm not too sure if it'll be good enough for modern and pioneer, because it can die to removal quite easily, but you never know, it might, I guess, surprise us. There's a couple of other creatures here. This is interesting, coming in as a bit of a, I guess, combat trick to be able to exile one target attacking or blocking creature, and then also has first strike protection from gods, so you can do a couple of good blocks there with Sigrid. This is Ascendant Spirit. If you know the other cards that were very similar to this in terms of being able to pay mana to increase it over time, but easily again can be destroyed by removal when you're investing stuff into it. So another great, not a great card, definitely there. Dwarves are back. This interesting for commander, definitely. Maybe standard if you have enough dwarves to be able to look for dragons, because you can make treasure tokens when dwarves become tapped, and then if you sacrifice 5 of them, you get search library for an artifact or dragon card. So definitely Commander, yes, and maybe even Standard. A couple of snow sorceries and a snow instant. Nothing really that I think I would be really interested in, apart from maybe Blessing of Frost, the ability to, you know, get 4 +1/+1 counters on any number of creatures, or distribute them on any number of creatures, and then draw some cards. You could draw up a lot of cards if you have more creatures with power 4 already, especially in Commander, and maybe even Standard might see some play. Now we're going to a couple other creatures here. I'm just going to go through ones that I think are worth mentioning. Dream Devourer lets you have each online card you draw in your hand without Foretell, has Foretell. Foretell cost is equal to its mana cost reduced by 2. So you're going to pay 2 mana, and then you're going to have things to be able to play, for 2 less than what it was. So if you've got really high mana stuff, yeah, you can bring them out a bit quicker. It's a 0/3, it's going to die to removal quite easily. I don't think there's anything you really want to cheat up much quicker than you can in like Modern. Pioneer, Fringe maybe, Fringe Standard, again Fringe maybe, but I would say that this card won't see much play. Arnie, Broken Bro, is an interesting card. It has haste, and it's 3 mana for 3/3, so it's pretty good stats there. And then you can pay just 1 mana to boost it, and then its base power changes to 1 plus the greatest power among other creatures you control. So it's other creatures, not itself. So you have some other creatures that are stronger, or as strong as Arnie, to be able to give that extra bit of oomph. Which in mono red decks and stuff you're probably not going to see. So I don't think it's going to see much play apart from Standard, where it might just be played as a 3/3 for haste, with haste for 3. Artifact vehicles, not much happening here. In Search of Greatness, this has been talked about a bit. 2 green for enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may cast a permanent spell from your hand with command mana cost equal to 1 plus the highest command mana cost among other permanents you control without paying its mana cost. If you don't, scroll 1. A lot of things you need to do to set it up to be able to play things. A lot of people kind of, I think, miss the fact that it's 1 plus higher converted mana cost. That's it. It's not or less. If it said or less, then I would definitely be saying this will see a lot of play in different formats. But it has to be specifically that much mana. So that's very hard to kind of set up. So for that reason, I don't see it seeing play. Mystic Reflection is kind of interesting. It's instant. Choose target non-legendary creature. The next time one or more creatures or planeswalkers enters the battlefield this turn, they enter as copies of the chosen creature. So if someone's casting something, let's say they cast like a, I don't know, an 8/8 creature for 8 mana, then you can play this for 2 mana and make them come into play as a 1/1. That's already on the battlefield or something like that. So it's quite interesting. And also on your turn, you can change it. You can make the 1/1 turn into an 8/8, whatever it might be. The non-legendary clause is quite interesting as well. That would have been fun if you can be able to get them by make them cast a legendary creature that wasn't legendary or was another legendary creature, and then have to choose one to keep. That would have been interesting. But I think that this could definitely see some play sneakily in Standard and maybe some other formats. We'll have to wait and see. Whenever another non-token elf or berserker you control dies, you draw a card and you lose 1 life. EDH all day, and possibly even modern elves as a way to stop bringing in the sideboard to stop wraths and stuff destroying your board. You're going to be trying to draw cards and stuff like that. Maybe the life loss might be a bit too much for you in that format, but we'll see. Runes are also in here. Runes are a type of enchantment that can enchant any permanent, but if it enchants like creatures or artifacts, it gives those creatures or artifacts the buff, like for example flying or something like that, and +1/+1. Otherwise, not much else to say about runes. They're not that interesting. Nothing really here. Well, Realm Walker looks interesting. 3 mana for 2/3 changeling, and it enters the battlefield. You choose a creature type, and you may look at the top card of your library anytime, and you may cast creature spells of the chosen type from the top of your library. Again, elves can definitely see this in elves, in modern, and definitely can see it seeing play in commander, in a host of decks. Not much happening here in the rares and uncommons. There probably are a couple there that have been talked about, but nothing that I've seen that really screams out to me as we move through to our planeswalkers and stuff in the multicolored. So kind of inexorable, 3 and a white and black for a 5 loyalty planeswalker. +1, put a ghost form counter on up to 1 target non-token creature. It gains when this creature dies or is put into exile, return it to its owner's hand and create a 1/1 white spirit creature token with flying. I know it's quite interesting because you're able to protect, in a way, one of your creatures, because if they die or exile, which is pretty much what's going to happen to them eventually, you're going to get that card back and to be able to recast it. So it kind of gives you a pseudo protection there, pseudo indestructible in a way. So very interesting ability, +1 ability. I really like that ability. -3, exile any non-land opponent. Another really good, strong ability there. And then -7, you get an emblem with, at the beginning of your upkeep, you may cast a legendary spell from your hand, from your graveyard, or from one card you own in exile without paying its mana cost. So you can get any legendary spell, so planeswalkers, legendary creatures, enchantments, artifacts. There even are some legendary sorceries. People going about Khan's temporal something. That's definitely going to be interesting to see if that has any legs, to be able to combo off with that and have an infinite turns. But I think Kaya is pretty interesting and could definitely be quite strong and quite powerful in creature kind of decks. Because you need the creatures to be able to get that +1 any real, I guess, warrant for you to have Kai in your deck. -3 is quite good to be able to get rid of something that is quite problematic. So it's a bit versatile in that regard. So definitely, I think a card that could definitely see some play in some formats like Pioneer, maybe Modern, definitely Standard. Nico Aris X White Blue 3 loyalty. And then enters the battlefield, you create X shard tokens, and shard tokens are enchantments that cost 2 mana to sacrifice, and then you scry 1 and draw a card. So very much like clue tokens. You get to +1 up to 1 target creature you control can't be blocked this turn, and when that creature does combat to this turn, you return it to its owner's hand. A way to maybe win the game, but if you're looking at the colors it's in, it's not going to be a very aggressive dex. -1 to deal 2 damage to target tapped creature for each card you've drawn this turn, so at least 2 damage. And then -1 to create a shard token. Don't get me wrong, shard tokens are quite cool in terms of giving you card advantage, but I don't think Necro is going to see much play, unfortunately, in any formats. Coma Cosmos Serpent, 3, 2 green and 2 blue, 6/6 can't be countered Serpent. Beginning of each upkeep, create a 3/3 Serpent, and then you can sacrifice another permanent to either tap target permanent and its activated abilities can't be activated this turn, or give indestructible to Coma. Commander definitely could see some play. Otherwise, it costs way too much. 3 for 5, 6, 7 mana to be able to play it. I just don't see it seeing play. Sagas are back. Not much interesting happening in the Saga department. This is probably the better one. Be able to create a 4 for white Angel Warrior token with Flying Vigilance. And then turn of your turn, Angel's Control, tap, destroy a target creature with power less than this creature's power. And then Angel's Control, gain double strike until end of turn. Commander. this is going to be in every Angel deck, has to be in every Angel deck that plays white and black. I will be definitely putting that in there. Otherwise, the other ones, not so great. Maybe this Boros one might see some play in Boros Burn. The ability to exile top 4 cards of your library, and until the end of the next turn you may play those cards. So card advantage, 4 mana, not too bad. Draw 4 cards. Whenever you cast a spell this turn, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. I think it definitely could see some legs in Burn decks, especially like in Modern. Definitely could see that. Not much else happening around here with these other cards. As we go to our artifacts, again, nothing really much in terms of competitive play, but Commander, again, you got interesting cards. Beginning of your end step, draw a card if your life total is greater than your start life total, otherwise you gain 2 life. Could be some card draw there. Life gain decks in Commander might play that. Masterful Nexus, creatures you control are every creature type, so they'll have changeling ability. The same is true for creature spells you don't control, you control creature cards you own that aren't on the battlefield, and you get to create a 2/2 shapeshifter that's got changeling on it. So could be interesting in Commander if you want to be playing tribal decks. Weathered Runestone, interesting card again. Non-land permanent cards in graveyards and libraries can't enter the battlefield. Players can't cast spells from graveyards or libraries. It could be a sideboard card, definitely, for some formats there. And then we got our Snowlands, and we got the dual lands in Snowlands as well, and they're common, but they all enter the battlefield tapped. But definitely, I think these will definitely see some play in Commander, 100%, and also in Modern you might see some of these turn up in the Titan Shift or Amulet Titan decks. Would be my guess. Then we got a couple of other lands. This land is, I guess, the talk of the town, the World Tree. It's just a land, not a legendary land. Enters the battlefield tapped. I think they made a mistake by not making a legendary land. The World Tree should have been a legendary land. I know legendary lands aren't great gameplay wise, but I think if they're strong enough to only have one on the battlefield, or warrant to have one on the battlefield, that's fine by me. So enter battlefield tapped, and then you can add 1 green, or as long as you control 6 or more lands. All lands you control add 1 of any color of mana. So really good for mana fixing there. And then you can have 2 of each color, so 10 mana together, to sacrifice the World Tree and search library for any number of god cards and put them onto the battlefield. So Commander, if you're playing 5 color deck, which you have to, with the World Tree to put it in there, you're going to be playing the World Tree because it just fixes your mana. Just as a land itself, it's Chromatic Lantern. So it's an amazing card for Commander. And then if you're playing gods at all, or you're playing the World Tree in your deck, you're just going to have a couple of gods anyways to be able to get some value out of that. Because eventually you got nothing to do, and then you just pay that mana, you can get a couple of things on the battlefield. An amazing card. Definitely one of the better cards, better rares in this set, I would say. Faceless Haven. It's a snowland. Pay 3 snow to make it a 4/3 vigilance creature with all creature types. So it has changeling basically. So it could definitely see some play in some of the older formats if you're playing those tribal strategies. And like Merfolk, I think Merfolk will play Mutavault already. Maybe Merfolk keep Mutavault because it costs a bit less. Mutavault I think costs 2 to activate, where this costs 3, but it is a 4/3, so it's much stronger. So maybe you might see play in there. Otherwise, don't see him play in Pioneer. Maybe standard, but that's about it. Then you got these pathways again. They came back. They're always good to have. And a couple of these uncommon lands are quite interesting as well, but I won't go into detail of these. So overall, very interesting deck. Showcase cards look amazing, by the way. My favorite, probably, art from the set is Valky. This one, the borderless one, looks sick. I think definitely looks sick there. But I think overall, I think there definitely are some cards that can break into older formats. There's nothing that I guess screams out to me apart from maybe Tybalt and the other one, the artifact one. Artifact one, the enchantment one, that 5-mana enchantment. That might see some play in old formats. I think they're the ones that really you have to play test first, but they could definitely see some play in older formats. Otherwise, nothing really stands out to me apart from those, and maybe Goldspan Dragon. That's another card and that could see some play in older formats. I think Commander, again, there's so many cards here for Commander, it's crazy. Definitely could see cards from here going to Commander, as you usually do. The World Tree, you could even see some play in older formats if it shows that gain 6 lands, which you can do quite easily with that mana fix if that's enough to be able to play 5-color stuff like Niv Mizzet decks. Even you're looking at like your Amulet and Tidal Shift decks, they might start to dabble into other colors. We'll see like Uro. Uro is another one, like 4-color Uro decks. So definitely something to keep in mind. If I was going to say any card that would get banned from this would probably be my first pick for the most likely to be banned if there was a banning of any cards from this set. So overall, I think it's a good set, not the strongest set, but not a weak set by any means. There's definitely some cards here that probably I haven't even spoken about that will see a lot of play. But I hope that you guys enjoyed listening to me talk about Kaldheim for the last almost hour, and I hope that you guys learned something along the way. Overall, I'm really excited to play this set. I'm going to be opening some stuff for you guys on the channel. As always, we're going to do our case files series. We're going to do a case of set boosters, and also I'll try and get some collector boosters as well to open up for our collecting masters series as well. As always, guys, share, like, subscribe. Everything on the stack has resolved, and good games, everyone.